Hello, everybody, and welcome back. This is the first studio update show of the 2025 Winter Classic Invitational Student Cluster Competition. This is the one where we're going to reveal, well, a lot of it. I'm joined by Henry Newman, longtime cluster competition aficionado. How you doing, Henry?
I'm doing well, Dan. I hope you're doing great too.
I'm doing okay. It's good to get going, but a lot of balls in the air. And actually, just I guess I should say who I am. Dan Olds Research, longtime industry analyst, student cluster competition aficionado. And I started this thing back in 2020. And Henry, actually, you were there at the start of it.
Yes, I was.
And what do you, Henry, a little background on you. You're going to be in
Uh,
some of these.
I've been in the HPC field since 1981. I retired from full-time employment in 23, and I'm doing some work for some companies and some consulting efforts.
You try and get out, and they pull you back in.
They're dragging me kicking and screaming, Dan.
That's what it means to be a national treasure, Henry. That's
Thank you,
what
Dan.
happens. Just say it.
It's not true, but
Well,
whatever.
no, but I'm going to need to ask you favors, maybe even in this audio, this cast. So I'm going to go ahead and just stay on your good side.
Yeah.
So let's do the lowdown, brief explanation of the Winter Classic Invitational Student Cluster Competition. It's all virtual, and it exclusively features teams from historically Black and Hispanic universities. No cost to the schools or the students to participate. The really cool thing that we do that's different than any competition is that we use mentor organizations, as we call them. And those are folks that have huge data centers, national labs, big companies that allow the students to use their systems to run applications that those mentor organizations have selected, and the mentors train them, get them started on Monday. They got to turn in final results on Saturday.
And then I'd add it's not just the applications, it's the test cases. And the mentors put a lot of work into what test cases to run and teaching them about the data and the output of the test cases.
Exactly. And it's the only applications that students know they're going to be doing. Well, benchmarks, HPCG, HPL. Got to run a LINPACK, got to run an HPCG. It's our Jack Dongara tribute that you start every cluster competition with, and that's mentored by HPE.
Nice.
Yeah,
Well, and it should start with that. I mean,
yeah,
that's the probably in some ways the easiest in terms of there's a lot of knowledge on the web. They can learn about it and it will give them a good starting point.
it really does. And HPE puts in a lot of training on that. I think it's like 5 hours of recorded material the students can go back to. Not, I mean, because they have to teach them how to get on the system, but they teach them about the system. And of course, deep dives into LINPACK and HPCG. So that's great. That's the first mentor. Next one up has traditionally been NASA Ames Lab, and they've done a great job. They really are good, but a scheduling screw up, my fault entirely. They can't do it this year. They've got some things going on that they just simply can't make the time for it. So, scramble mode. And there's some ideas about what to do. And I think I've got one, Henry. Let me run it by you. That it's it's too late to get another national lab or big mentor online in order to start, soon. Um, so here's something that I've done in the past with an HPC exam, but it was kind of general, kind of fun, not hard enough. I think this time, and we're going to talk about the materials we're going to test them on in a minute, but I think we should test them on some real HPC concepts and practices. Make them
So
learn
it's
it.
So things like networking, HPC networking, and operating systems. What are you thinking, Dan?
I'm thinking stuff about, well, like I said it to some students at the South Africa cluster competition when they were having problems getting MPI going, saying if you don't have MPI, you're just doing PC, not HPC.
That is correct.
Yeah. And so I think talking about things like that, what makes a, and there's some detailed training material that we're going to talk about towards the end of this, um, that will lay out an awful lot of the HPC concepts that are really important for them to know, and that through this process, that as a team, they can learn this stuff, and it's the kind of things that will impress an interviewer. Just the little tidbits that they're going to pick up through this training. I mean, much less be able to use it in the latter challenges after this one.
And Dan, more importantly, it's not always just this cluster competition on the resume is a big deal too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's a door opener.
Yes, it is. It is. In fact, that's the most important thing about why do it, is it helps them get in the industry.
Yeah, and we need more people in the industry. We're losing a lot of people.
You're old, I'm old, Henry. We're not going to last forever. So,
Yeah,
yeah, we need
yeah,
more people. So,
yeah.
anyway, that is going to be, I haven't come up with a name for it yet, but that is going to be the next mentor organization, that next mentor challenge. Now, after that, Oak Ridge, who is somewhat renowned in the industry,
Somewhat.
somewhat,
That's an understatement.
and they're great at throwing some curveballs. They put a lot of thought and a lot of effort into coming up with something unique. They're not just going to say, "Hey, run GROMACS." No, 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 no. Last year, AI drug discovery. Remember that?
Yes, and I was impressed with the both what Oak Ridge did and how some of the teams came and stood up and made it happen.
That was a tough one. And yet, some of the teams are going, "Oh, this is great. This is exactly what we were hoping to learn." And so they do a great job this year. A little different. In their other times mentoring, they've been using a system called Ascend, which is the little brother of Summit. No more. Now, going to be using a piece of Frontier.
Whoa!
Yeah,
And put that on your resume.
put that on your resume. And they're not even going to tell you this yet, but if their plans work out, there could be a big twist. A big twist in this one that makes it even more interesting.
Good.
In fact, tell you what, Henry, I'm going to go ahead and in this section, I'm going to put in just a little transition of a field and some music while I tell you what they're talking about. Now that I've told you, Henry, what's your impression of that?
My impression of that, Dan, is you've developed a great continuum of improving the competition and putting more information in front of these students. And I think that you're doing a great job with it. And the
That's
mentors are really stepping up.
yes. That's not me. That's Oak Ridge. And
But but
wow.
but it to some degree. But Dan, you're the one who contacted them in the first place. You're the one who works with the students and gets them there. Yes, it's Oak Ridge, but without you, none of this would happen.
Now, thank you. That's nice to hear. But again, fingers crossed that this actually happens. It's going to be great either way. But if the frosting comes on that cake, then holy crap.
Oh yeah.
Then following Oak Ridge, AWS. And they use real world HPC apps, but they always put their own spin on it. Last year was Relion, and the one that I always think back to, and I tell this story a million times, is the Open Foam Challenge of 2022, which turned into the legendary Open Foam Miracle. They gave the students an open foam case. It's airflow over a motorcycle, kind of a typical standard thing. And it had a coefficient of something like 0.56, something like that. I don't remember. They said, hey, you can do anything you want, but you gotta reach that same coefficient or better in your final run. So their kids are out there. They're changing the compiler flags, using different compilers, memory mapping, doing all the typical stuff, which is great. One team, one team said on Saturday, "Hey, wonder if we coarsened up this mesh. Would that make a difference?" Why, yes, yes, it will. A big difference? Oh yeah, oh yeah. They got their results in 2 minutes before the deadline, but their results were an order of magnitude better than anyone else. They had 100 on, of course, because we normalized, but I think the next closest team had like 13%.
Ooh.
Yeah, that vaulted them from kind of a lagging fifth into second place by 2 points going into the interview. And you were in on some of those interviews, and they took it in the interview. Prairie
I
View.
was I was impressed in the interview.
Yeah, yeah, and that was so cool.
And
Finish.
it's cool to see how they grew, because that was a big confidence builder, was clear in that interview.
Yeah,
Clear. They said,
yes,
we got this. We understand how things work now. This is HPC. And I was darn impressed.
that was so neat to see. Then finishing it out, first time ever, mystery mentor, brand new to the competition, and since it's a mystery, can't really say anything else. We'll see what happens. So there you go. That's the mentors this year. Let's look at the sponsors. Can't do anything without the sponsors, right? It's just it we need
Not
their
happening.
help and their support. Not happening.
Yeah.
And I'm really proud and happy to say that HPE, who's been a big believer in this, they return as our platinum sponsor for the third time,
Nice.
and also a mentor too.
And good, good for them for doing that. And hopefully the kids this year will get internships this summer with
Yeah.
HP. I think it's good for everybody.
They also had a job fair during the competition for the kids, and they not only, you'd expect an HR person maybe to talk about stuff. No, they brought on it's either 3 or 4 division heads to talk about what they would do if they joined their division.
Wow.
It was really greatly detailed. We had a bunch of kids on it. We did it too late. We did it past their deadline for summer internships. We're going to do it much earlier this year. So that's a great thing. We also have Lenovo in as a gold sponsor, which is fantastic, and Intel as well. And they've both been great supporters. And AWS is in as a gold sponsor, rounding it out. So also a mentor. And it's just great to have them back. We're still talking to some others, believe it or not. A little behind the curve on this because of the stuff that I set up that's coming right up, I believe, in what's new this year. So let's flip to it. New this year. First thing had to get fixed, Linux training.
Yep.
And as we discussed when I started searching for it, Henry, I remember talking to you and going, hey, yeah, here's the problem. They're not they're not learning any hands-on Linux as part of their school curriculum.
Yes. And that's been a problem for since the beginning.
Yeah,
For some of them.
for some of them, yeah. But actually, I think most of them The schools that have done well have had students on their team that are self-taught and have been working with professors, but they're not ones that have gone through the typical computer science curriculum.
Right.
So they kind of
And
self-selected.
and even if you have Linux experience, it doesn't mean you understand the needs for HPC in Linux.
True, true. And that's the second part of it. So we through the Linux Foundation, we have on our website under resources, let's learn Linux. And what I did is I took their big long course, which is 60 hours of training, all self-paced and free, which is great. But I curated it with help from some of the mentors to get it down because there's a lot of stuff in there they don't need to know because they're not going to be sysadmins. They're not going to be selecting. Uh,
They're not going to be
yeah,
installing printers, Dan.
no, they're not going to be installing printers. So that will be helpful. But what you just hit on is HPC basic training. This was hard to find um, because it needed to be somewhat generic as to systems and workloads. And a lot of it out there is how to run HPC on our supercomputer in our lab using our stuff. And I found something. It's from the Pittsburgh Supercomputing Center that was distributed out through Exceed, John Urbanik, and he's doing the HPC summer boot camp for people that are newish to HPC and will be running on their system, but he keeps it generic and explicitly says that throughout. And you took a look at some of this stuff, right?
Yeah. Yes, I did. It was impressive that they have this online, they keep it up to date, and I think it'll help the kids a lot.
Yeah. And the goal for either later this year, although I'm not going to promise, but next year for sure and over the summer is that I've worked to get an account for the Winter Classic. So and time on that system so that the students will be able to go along with that exact course and run the exercises and do it exactly how they did it in those sessions. And I think that'll be helpful.
Yep.
And I think that with this stuff, even schools without any HPC curriculum at all or competition experience, they can train themselves up and get in this competition and do well. And that's important.
It's critical. It's going to be critical for their future.
Yes, absolutely. So with that, let's take a look at the 2025 teams.
Good.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Are
I
you
am.
prepared for this, Henry?
I am prepared.
Excellent. We're breaking two records this year. First, we've got a record number of teams at 15, which I believe the most we ever had before was 12 or 13 and one dropped, but 12 is what it ended up at, and over 60 students, which is great. And we have more schools sending two teams, which to me says that HPC is starting to catch on.
Well, and that they have the support of the university because they need local support. So it's both, Dan. So you got to give the
Yeah.
schools themselves credit.
I do. Yeah. And those faculty advisors that
Right.
that are working with them and helping them and encouraging them. That's
Yep.
a big thing, and publicizing this thing. So let's go into the teams, alphabetical order, as we do, as is custom. We have Cal State University, Channel Islands, back for the fourth year with two teams again. That would be Team Barracudas, nice name, and Team Nautical Processing, which is all playing off of their oceanic theme because their mascot is Echo the Dolphin. Fun team, enthusiastic teams, and one of them not one of these teams, but a team in the past won a championship. So they brought home a trophy. Nice job.
Yep.
Then we have Fayetteville State University, third-time team. They are coming heavy. Uh, two teams, 4 students each, very senior heavy. They remember them, they did well last year, particularly
They
early
did.
on. They were threatening and pushing the leaders. It was very tight in the top 4 or 5. And Fayetteville pushed. It was good. Then another familiar team and one that I've got a soft spot for is they were in the very first competition in 2021, which is really a beta for this. Florida A&M, FAMU. And larger team this year. They got some grad student firepower on it.
And you have rules that say how many people you could
Yeah,
have, and you
yeah.
get fewer numbers if you get grad students.
Grad students take up 2 slots of the undergrads. So yeah.
Good.
Uh, and we've got Morehouse College in, and that is led by Dr. Alfred Watkins. I had a great dinner with at SC24. It was in Atlanta, home to Morehouse and
Right.
them. But he's been using this program to build HPC at Morehouse, including building a lab.
Good for him.
Yeah,
I mean, and this is why you've got to have the faculty support to do this.
you do. You do. And he is putting in the time, putting in the effort, getting the resources, and it's building. It's going to go. So, Prairie View A&M, we gave them a shout out with the AWS Open Foam Miracle. They have 2 teams this year. Black Panther 1, Black Panther 2, both 3-student teams, but it's another one of these battles for, in this case, Prairie View, Texas. So that should be interesting. Texas Tech, 2 teams. Remember them from last year, right?
Yes, I do.
Team Matador, Team Red Raider. They've been in since 2022. What's interesting is their coach, who is a PhD student at Texas Tech, but he was a competitor in 2022.
That's nice. You gotta love that.
He is. Michael Beebe, great guy, and he's been taking a page or advice from my book about let's stir up a little rivalry between these 2 teams. He's coaching them both, so why not, get them motivated? And
Yep.
we'll see that as we go. Team Red Raider won it all last year, by the way. It was very, very close, but
Yes, it was. It was very close. I remember.
Less than 1%, 0.61, I believe. Yeah. So new team coming in, University of California, Riverside, brand new team, 4 students. Haven't talked to them much. Don't know anything about them. We'll see what they bring.
They could be the dark horse.
They could. One team that you got to watch out for is University of California, Santa Cruz. They've been in this before. They've done some ISC competitions. They just barely finished second in 2023, 4 points, which is nothing in this out of a total of 700 points. And I think the points scored were in the high 500s. They lost by 4. Second place. 2024, 0.60 points. Ouch. Very close. Yeah, they got to be coming in wanting to win this whole thing.
Yeah,
got to be. They're bringing some experience back too. So, ouch. Well, we'll see what happens. University of New Mexico, close to you.
Yes.
Relatively speaking, a couple 100 miles, maybe.
Yeah, it's a little more. It's not even that far. It's 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Okay. That's of course coping with traffic in the middle of nowhere, New Mexico, which is usually
pretty good.
Yeah, it's usually actually pretty wide open. Uh, Good team. Their first team, they just put in one, and I remember that they used their off weeks to scavenge around campus, find abandoned servers, steal them, and build their own clusters out of them. That's pretty cool.
Impressive. Impressive.
Yeah, yeah. Uh,
Well, hopefully they didn't steal things, Dan.
let's just say that's an open question. Let's
Okay.
let's who needs to put a label on it, Henry? I mean, there's a fair amount of computer science that's happened because of that kind of stuff. So let's just let that go. But they're good teams, fun teams. Finished third and sixth last year, and great performance. That Team Roadrunner, which was the new one last year, actually came in first on some of the modules and in the middle, and that was pretty impressive for a brand new team.
Yes.
So, rounding out the 15 is a team that is back. They were in the very first 2021 competition. That's University of Texas El Paso, this year dubbed Team Gladiator.
And they are much closer. They're 45 minutes away from my house.
That's right. Yeah. You're down there in the south, ensconced in your survivalist compound. Yes.
Right.
Uh, the the thing that I remember about UTEP is that first competition. Again, this was the beta competition. They said we're going to have two teams. I said great. By the time the competition actually started, the other team had pretty much bailed because they didn't understand that it was going to be a time commitment and it was going to be hard. And then the members from the team that was surviving, most of them drifted away. It ended up with two kids doing it and finishing it up, and they wouldn't stop. And they scored on everything. That was really impressive.
And that is impressive, and that shows tenacity that's necessary in our industry.
It is, and I'm so glad to have them back. So that's the teams. We know the mentors. We know the sponsors. What's coming up? Well, right now, we're waiting on results from LINPAC and HPCG. It's been tough timing with this competition because I wanted to make sure they had the MLK Day week off. So I had to either start it after or before. If I did it after, we went too long and too late. So we had to do it before. And most of these kids, when this started, were not on campus. So they've been doing it remote from each other, even. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think that's going to have an impact on the LINPAC and HPCG scores.
But you know what?
We'll see.
They're probably way better at that kind of communication than you and I are. I'm not worried. I'm not worried.
We'll see. We'll see. I'm always worried about everything. But the next thing up is we'll be revealing the results from this first module of the competition. We'll be interviewing the mentors. We'll start with our first round of student interviews. We're going to talk to the sponsors. We're going to have kind of a rotating seat in the Henry seat, depending on his schedule, because like I say, every day is a weekend if you're retired, but it's really not for Henry.
Yeah.
So he's got a lot of stuff, a lot of irons in the fire. But I will be filling in with other HPC luminaries, and I'm going to be getting Henry a tie like this bad boy. And we will go from there, but we'll be doing lots of stuff, be posting on social media. You'll also see our articles and videos in our media partner, HPC Wire, and on our website, www.winterclassinvitational.com. All those links are up there in the video now. So give us a follow, shout out, spread the word. Come on, you got nothing better to do. Give us a hand here. And Henry, thank you for being the co-pilot on this. Great job.
Thank you.
And I didn't call out your tie-dye shirt because I wasn't sure if it was actually your shirt or if there's something wrong with your camera or Zoom or something. Is that actually tie-dyed purple and blue and
Yes, a friend of mine who ran the Abita Brewery for many years in Louisiana, Mississippi area gave me the shirt, and he's been a friend since 1973, and I decided I'd wear it.
is he going to watch the show?
Probably not.
Okay, then I'm going to see what I can do to color correct that shirt out. Anyway, so Adobe has some work to do. So thank you for watching. Really appreciate it. Please follow us, talk about it, and support it. We're doing good stuff here, and we will see you next time. Stay tuned.